presentation to the congregation of First United Methodist Church of Germantown, our sponsoring organization. We want to thank you for sponsoring scouting at all the levels. We have members here of Troop 1719 and Troop 1313, and we wanted to share some of our memories with you and tell you kind of how we do stuff.
All right. Would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? If you ever see a uniform arm, please salute. If you don't, hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please join me in the Scout Oath. On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to guide my country,
and to obey the Scout law.
to obey the Scout law, to help other people at all times,
to keep myself
physically strong,
mentally awake, and morally straight.
So let's start off with a couple of people answering the question, how long have you been in Scouts? Takio, how long have you been in Scouts?
I've been scouting for 13 years.
Wow. Okay. And how old were you when you started?
When I first started, I was about 7.
Okay, all right. And how old are you now?
17.
Oh my goodness, you.
Oh wait, no, not 13.
Look like it. Oh,
not 13. 10 years. I'm sorry.
10 years. Okay, all right. So you've been in for 10 years. All right.
Yeah.
Jocelyn, how long have you been in scouting?
So I started scouting around when I was 13.
Okay.
I was around 13, like 1 or 2 years ago.
Okay. Tell us what's going on in this picture.
We was on polar bear, and I had to put my shoulders under the water.
Oh.
And I was able to do that.
Why was it called polar bear?
Because you had to wake up like at 6 and go in the freezing cold water.
Okay. All right. Anybody else have anything to say about polar bear?
Oh, then you wait. Is that the thing you had to wake up like super early and then just go and get in the pool?
Yeah.
Oh.
We had to do it for like 3 days straight, by the way.
I would have died.
It was cold.
Very.
What's something that you've done for the first time in scouting?
Camping.
The first time starting a fire.
Chopping down a tree.
Hiking, actually.
Doing polar bear.
What are some of the things you miss about not being able to do stuff in person? What kind of scouting things do you miss?
I miss going camping and hiking.
What I really miss is like going on like camping trips when it's hot.
Okay.
Amen.
One thing I miss is seeing other scouters that you know within the scouting community from other troops and camping.
Yeah.
That's what I miss.
Camping.
Yeah.
When it's hot.
When it's hot. Nobody but me likes cold weather camping, I guess. Brandon, what are you looking forward to that you haven't gotten a chance to do yet in scouting?
Everything.
What kinds of mistakes have you made in scouting and how did it turn out?
I made a mistake. I made a couple mistakes in scouting. Whereas though there'll be times on camping trips where I wouldn't be prepared, and and the way it turned out is I turned out that I had to suffer and remember next time to do things right. And to take responsibility next time. You know, I would leave my gloves or leave my hat or not be prepared or, sort of be that kid.
Oh, something that didn't go right. One time, remember that one trip when I had small boots? That it took like 30 minutes to put them on and you got mad at me. Yeah, that was the worst.
I forgot my gloves on the first camping trip I went on.
How'd it turn out?
Well, my hands were freezing in the morning.
What'd you learn?
I learned to never forget my gloves.
There you go. All right.
Don't forget to bring medication if needed.
Oh,
It doesn't matter what kind, especially the females. I'm just saying, don't forget to bring the medications, especially when camping. Don't forget to bring medication, even if you have asthma. It
oh my
actually
God.
sucks
You just reminded
when
me.
you have asthma because we're always running around a lot. So you're running around a lot, so it's kind of gets hard to breathe.
Hey, Mark, do you remember that time when you had asthma attack?
Oh yes, I remember that. The first time was the initiation into the scouting where we like go into the mountains with the flashlights. We have to walk back down without the flashlights. And then the second time was during the lumber games. I was running around and everything in the cold weather, and asthma doesn't really mix well together, so I couldn't really breathe.
Yes. All right, ladies, tell us about this picture.
Oh, that's fun. So, like I said earlier, we were learning how to use certain tools for when we need to chop wood or make a fire or something like that. So that was like the totem chip that we had to earn. That was actually really fun. I'm not gonna lie.
And
That was
who
fun.
all's in the
Mostly because
picture?
I got to use an axe.
Good. And who's in the picture?
So we have me, Janaya, and
I think it was Christine.
that's what it is.
Yeah, Christine. Yeah. All right. Joseph, what's going on in this picture?
I think we were at like a river or a watering hole or something like that, and we were like just having fun, either jumping in or just hanging out around the watering hole.
Looks like you kind of was having a good time.
Yeah.
This was the lumberjack games.
Basically, like we was doing axe throwing, and like it was actually pretty hard to land the axe in the log. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't do it. I got an F.
So we're gonna start by spotlighting Nathan, and so the question is about pocket knives, sharp tools. What did you learn during your scouting career?
Obviously blood circle, you want to make sure you're not around anyone, all that good stuff. But there's one time I remember when I was trying to get my toe into it for the first time, like I pick up the axe to go chop the wood, and like I almost take out my foot, and like the instructor was like very concerned. As you can imagine, he's like probably my age now, and he's like, oh man, this is like my first class, like he's got this kid almost taking out his foot. Not a good look.
All right, Henry, tell us about sharp tools and things that you've learned.
Well, as someone who's probably cut themselves on every type of sharp tool imaginable, I can safely say that the biggest rule to take is that all knives, saws, axes, they're all dangerous. So the biggest thing is just treating them with respect, understanding that thing is sharp and it's made to cut something. Make sure it's not you.
What are some of the problems with dull tools?
They don't cut sharp enough, so people try to like make it work, but like it can be dangerous.
How so?
Like people will try to like really force something. Like if it's dull, then they'll try to like cut something really fast or really hard, and they could lose control and cut themselves.
What about fire?
Fire. Always make sure you have something to put it out with. So like, don't start a fire without having like 2 buckets of water like ready on deck.
Okay, all right.
If you're going to make a fire, make sure that it's in a safe area and that it's not a bunch of leaves around, anything that can catch on fire to make a wildfire.
So how did you learn?
I think that,
how and where?
Yeah. Where it was El Paso. Yeah, that was when I took my first swimming lesson. We did it at the local, I think, the YMCA. They had this whole program where you went from like, I think it was like guppy, pollywog, tadpole, whatever the frog life cycle is. It's been too long. And then at the end of that, yeah, I basically knew how to swim.
You went on to qualify as a lifeguard, isn't that true?
Yep.
And how many years?
That was a good summer job.
Yeah. How many years did you work as a lifeguard?
Oh, 3.
Wow. All right. Okay. Great. Let's move on to let's see what Henry can remember about learning to swim. Or were you just born knowing how to swim?
Actually, I kind of was, because I believe at age 4 I started swimming lessons from a very young age, and it helped that I went to a summer camp for 7 years for like 7 weeks each, that I would go swimming every single day to learn how to do it. And it also helped that the head coach there was trying to groom me for the swim team at the school. So
tell us about swimming, Takio.
Swimming for me, it was a thing that I developed. I started when I was young. My mom would go on Facebook and say, "Can anybody teach my son swim lessons?" And I met a lady named Miss Anisha, actually, and she was the first person who taught me how to swim at St. Joe's. And ever since then, I really swam like consistently, and it was a thing that I did like develop. And then I went on a swim team at Germantown Life Enrichment Center.
Tell us about your struggles with swimming. It wasn't your favorite thing at all.
Yeah, no. I actually, I had one more thing to do to complete my swimming merit badge for Eagle, and I did cycling instead because I didn't enjoy swimming. I don't like swimming, so.
Was it a fair trade-off?
I probably should have done swimming. I probably should have done swimming.
What kept you in Scouts? What kept you going all the way to Eagle?
The same my parents did. Like, they were always really encouraging of me, helping me get through all the rank advancement and helping with the merit badges. And like, they were the ones who found the 2nd troop once we moved up here from Philadelphia, into Philadelphia, sorry.
So Takio, what kept you in scouting? You've been in since you were 7.
Yeah. What kept me in was part of the inspiration of parents and seeing other scouters. It all started with a journey when I met someone who was in Cub Scouts, and he introduced me to scouting and said I should get into scouting. And once I tried it out, I really loved it. And I had parents who have inspired me to also stay in scouting. And I saw that it was good for me for my personal growth and just the amount of goals that it had for me that I could set. It really helped me with myself.
What kept you in scouting?
Definitely you and my grandmother, 100%. There were definitely times where I wanted to quit, and I can remember when you would pull me aside and have that little conversation with me, and I'd be like, all right, let's go back into it.
What was it that kept you in Scout? How did you stay in and make it all the way through?
You want the honest answer?
Yeah.
Or the answer I should tell everybody?
Well, give them the honest answer.
You told me if I did get Eagle Scout, you was gonna kill me. It's like, no, just the fun adventures, camping and doing the different memories that we have at summer camp. Pretty much just having fun, and it felt like a family. For me, it was reaching that goal of Eagle Scout, be able to say I'm an Eagle Scout to job offers, to people that say, oh yeah, I'm an Eagle Scout. You can be able to match that energy and be like, well, yeah, I made it to the toppest rank in scouting as well. And I feel that honor that you have.
And then in the higher ranks, when things got more complicated with your time and things and distance, traveling to Germantown when you started being with 1719, coming all the way from Havertown, what kept you going on that?
It kept being fun. It was just what I wanted to do. I decided that I couldn't really grow if I was in 144. I decided that 1719 was, I guess, it was a bit of a greater challenge, something I could really feel like I could have an impact for, because there weren't very many people starting out that really knew what they were doing. So I feel like that I was more needed or wanted in 1719.
What did you do for your Eagle project?
but I built a fence for the church. Like they had a little alleyway like there was getting a lot of trash and stuff in there. So I just built a fence there so that people couldn't throw their trash in there and keep it nice and clean for them.
That's right. That's right.
One that I picked was that the local like historic landmark Nider Hall needed a new path, so they needed me to lay a new brick path for them.
So my project was basically the bench on the balcony inside the church. We took that up and cut it up and turned it into shelves for all the stuff that was just up there. And we also put like a fence on the railing so nobody could fall through. And then my grandmother was helping me like pick ideas, and she suggested it. I personally didn't think it was gonna work. I did not think it was gonna work, but she told me to press through with it, and I did all the research and spoke to everybody I needed to speak to, and it turned out perfectly. I also was starting college, so at the time I lived in Abington, which, well, it was kind of close, but not really. But finding time to go was hard.
Takeo, tell us about your project.
My project was something based on something that I love, which is baseball. And mind you, my project happened when the pandemic hit, and I built I did a lot of research and did a lot of safety precautions while I did my project. And I built a batting helmet cubby, which is where baseball players could put their batting helmets in. I also built a bat holder made of PVC pipes to hold baseball bats. And I built the nail drag, which is a item used to straighten the dirt on a baseball. I wound up having my project at my house, actually. And I still was able to social distance and keep everyone clean and not COVID positive.
And so tell us about your Eagle project.
The one that I finally settled on was, like everybody know, the Memory Garden. It was for soldiers that died in the war, that didn't make it home, or for memories that did make it home but didn't live long in while they was home. It was at Russica Falls Elementary School. Also, it was close by to Russica Falls. I was up at summer camp working, and that was like one of the easier eco projects to do while I was up there, instead of having to travel back and forth from Russica Falls to Philly.
What would you say to parents who are thinking about whether their kids should get into Scouts or if he or she is already in, to stay in Scouts? Nathan, what would you say to parents?
Oh, I'd say it's a really good experience. Like it just in terms of like community bonding, building friendships with other people, and like learning skills. The merit badges give you a great way to like learn all different sorts of things about life and just find out like what your interests are. And that was like the best part of it for me, was being able to like not just be with friends, but also be able to learn all these different things and build all these skills.
Cool, cool. Takeo, let's hear your words of wisdom to parents about Scouting.
I would tell them it's a developmental program. It will help them with not only skills. You may originally think that Scouting is just about camping, but it develops you in life, and it teaches you life skills that you know outside of Scouting. And you don't know, you can learn something new to where, as the parent, you can be benefited from, because you don't have to teach your child since he's already taught with Scouting.
And David, let's have you weigh in on messages to parents or grandparents. Let's not forget the grandparents.
Yep, definitely not forget the grandparents. It's like a second family in a sense, depending on how close you are with the people in your troop. For example, for me, when I was going through something, I had Miss Ann to talk to when at the time. So like definitely like a second family. Like Takeo said, you're learning a bunch of new things you wouldn't learn from just like sitting in the house.
All right, Henry, wisdom for parents.
The easiest way to help your child succeed in Scouting is to follow the Scout law yourself. Being like truthful with them, understanding them, like mostly just being there when they need you, being able to drive when it's applicable, being able to take the meetings. But but it also means encouraging them to be everything they can be. And if that's through scouting, then encourage that.
I would honestly say, like I always say, it's a great opportunity to give back to your community, for one. For two, you're not just only giving back, you're being able to have fun while doing it. You're doing different activities like learning new skills that you can use in your lifestyle. You basically learn as you go. You learn more things every day, every time you're at Scouts, every time you're with Scouts, anything.
All right, a scout is trustworthy,
loyal,
helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave,
clean,
free,
and
and
reverent.
All right.